As Chris reported during his South Korean trip, the president is expected to make it very clear that the United States has a strong military commitment to that country, warning North Korea not to try anything. In this special segment report tonight on the Koreans, Garrick Utley describes the eyeball-to-eyeball situation on the Korean Peninsula.
At precisely 12 noon, Lieutenant Commander Stephen Kittle goes to work. He is the American representative at the daily meeting with the North Koreans. It takes place directly on the border between North and South Korea. It's been going on like this for 30 years. A confrontation which is dangerous and at times seems bizarre. The North Koreans built this modern-looking village along the demilitarized zone. It looks impressive until you realize no one lives in it. It's for propaganda. And 24 hours a day, the hills are assaulted by the sound of North Korean music. Harassment aimed at the South. The Americans and South Koreans are technically part of a United Nations force. They also compete.
The North Korean flag stands slightly higher than the United Nations. However, we have a wider tip. The North Korean flag is slightly longer than ours. However, ours is wider. North Koreans have a 3-tier base, whereas we have a 2-tier. However, our 2-tier base is equal in height to their 3.
This gamesmanship reflects the hostility here. 1.5 million armed Koreans on both sides of the border facing each other. It is this confrontation with North Korea which is the supreme fact of life in South Korea, which has caused a permanent state of tension, a deeply rooted feeling of vulnerability. And you can understand why when you realize that from here to the capital, Seoul, is just 40 miles. At the end of the Korean War, Seoul was a city of fewer than 2 million people. Today it has more than 9 million. Korea is a booming country, building skyscrapers and subway systems. A mini Japan, which has become a major trading partner of the United States. For President Reagan, there is just one problem here, the government of President Chun Doo-hwan. He wears civilian clothes, but he is a former general. For more than 20 years, the Army has held power. It controls the media. It has jailed some of its political opponents and banned others from political activity.
We just banned them for a couple of years, and I'm sure that through our sense of conciliation, we are having them back to the actual politics and inside of National Assembly pretty soon.
There are many Koreans who doubt that, who say the government only talks of improving human rights. The Reagan administration does not pressure the Koreans to reform. For example,
the Senate today gave President Reagan a new weapon.
American newscasts are satellited to Korea because the Defense Department says U.S. troops here have the same right to the news they would have back home. The programs are shown on the American Forces Network. But Koreans can see the programs too, and that is the problem. By agreement, the U.S. military cannot be involved in Korean politics, so the newscasts are carefully screened. Reports which the Korean government might not like are censored by the Americans. On Monday, NBC's Today program plans an interview with the leading political opponent of the government who is in exile in the United States, but American officials say that will not be shown here. This may not seem like a big issue, but it is a good example of the fact that behind all the talk this weekend of close Korean-American friendship is a very delicate relationship. Garrick Utley, NBC News, in Seoul.
President Reagan has been trying to beat the jet lag by alternating his eating days, and this was a day to eat. His lunch with Prime Minister Nakasone included grilled beef and California wine, which must have made him feel at home, but it also included raw tuna, that's sashimi, sake, and parasunes. Parasunes. That's what the official U.S. press report said. Well, we checked Japanese restaurants, language schools, dictionaries. Nothing at all about parasunes. And then back came the explanation from Tokyo. Something was lost in translation. Persimmons, not parasunes.